TB Joshua prophecy on Biafra, have his words already come true? TB Joshua is one of the most watched pastors in Nigeria. He is also well known for his prophecies. These days, as talks of Biafra continues to rise, people want to know what happens next. TB Joshua may have an answer. Follow TB Joshua prophecy on Biafra. Back in 2013, TB Joshua predicted the rise of Biafra. It's relatively difficult to read through all his prophecy, but we will try to define his main statements. It will start with protests. TB Joshua's prophecy that year includes a point about Biafra. He admitted that Biafra would start with protests. People would start marching on the streets of Nigerian cities. They would start to demand their freedom and independence. I see a revolution. According to his words, the protests will ignite a revolution process. It's not the protests Nigeria should be afraid of, but the revolution. A single protest may spark a new revolution and a new rise of Biafra. According to TB Joshua prophecy about Nigeria, this should be of primary concern to the government. You can stop a protest, but you can't stop a revolution. TB Joshua prophecy about Nigeria is pretty clear. Biafra will start with a protest. Nigeria will end the protest, but it will not stop the revolution. Therefore, the words are clear. The revolution will begin with a protest. Eventually, the protest will become so big that nobody will be able to stop it. In conclusion of his speech, he suggested that the protest movement would be irreversible. TB Joshua prophecy on Nigeria. In 2013, TB Joshua predicted the rise of Biafra. Can it be the beginning of Nigeria's fall? It's not certain. TB Joshua prophecy about Biafra did not have a strict date of occurring. He just admitted that it would happen. However, political and economic experts have also informed that it could happen. Therefore, it was not really new information. Still, his idea that the protests can be irreversible at some point is indeed shocking. It can only mean the worst scenario for Nigeria. It can include at least a police operation or even a second Nigerian civil war. The previous war with Biafra was a disaster not only for Nigeria but for Biafra people. Most of the population of Biafra died in the 1960s, not because of war, but starvation. TB Joshua prophecy about Biafra, have they become real? In 2015 to 2016, Nigeria saw new protests which demanded the restoration of the Biafra territory. In that time, Nigeria witnessed some unexpected news about Biafra. May 30, 2016, pro-Biafra protests started in Onitsha. About 40 people were killed in one day. The Nigerian government used force to take down the protests. Unfortunately, it led to more victims from both sides. International organizations criticized the actions made by Nigerian government during the Biafra protests. The international amnesty organizations reported that hundreds of protesters were imprisoned. The International Society for Civil Liberties reported that the police and security operatives shot unarmed civilians and buried their bodies in unknown places. Read also, the most beautiful city in Nigeria. The southeast of Nigeria can be named a region of police states. The government of Nigeria spends a fortune to keep the southeast states at bay. The Amnesty International still reports that Southeast states' citizens suffer from police power abuse. Also, The Igbo people suffer from discrimination as well. TB Joshua prophecy on Biafra may come true someday. Still, there is no revolution yet. It should be mentioned that he was not the first ones to predict these problems. Even today, European political experts are worried about the continued violence in the southeast states of Nigeria. TB Joshua prophecy for 2017. TB Joshua's prophecy for Nigeria 2017 is not optimistic. He predicts that Naira will continue its downfall and its peak will be in 2017. What does it mean for Nigeria? It means that Nigerians may only expect the worst. It may include new protests from the pro-Biafra. Why will the Biafra protests start again? Experts give several reasons. It's not a surprise that the southeast states of the country are the poorest. If Naira keeps falling, then Nigeria should expect protests in the poorest states first. Pro-Biafra movement has gained power in the southeast states. It can only mean a new wave of protest. Igbo people suffer from discrimination in Nigeria. With pro-Biafra strong leadership, they may choose to fight for independence. His predictions are quite controversial. Do not expect much from it. Predictions are made for people who believe in it. If you are a believer, then you will probably expect them to happen.